Imagine a world where looking up at the sky could cost you everything. A world where truth was not found through observation, but dictated by ancient texts and religious authority. This was the world of the 17th century, a time of intellectual turmoil, where the very foundations of reality were being questioned. At the heart of this storm stood one man, Galileo Galilei. His story isn't just about stars and planets. It's a timeless epic of courage, conviction, and the relentless human quest for knowledge against overwhelming odds. This is the story of how one man, armed with a simple tube of glass, dared to challenge an entire worldview, and in doing so, ignited a revolution that would forever change how we see our place in the universe. Welcome to the definitive story of Galileo, the father of modern science. For over 1,000 years, humanity's understanding of the cosmos was elegantly simple and profoundly wrong. At the center of everything was Earth, our home, unmoving, divinely placed. Around it, in perfect crystalline spheres, orbited the moon, the sun, the planets, and finally, the fixed stars. This was the geocentric model, a system perfected by the ancient astronomer Ptolemy. It was more than just a scientific theory. It was a cosmic hierarchy that mirrored the social and religious order on Earth. The Catholic Church had woven this model into the very fabric of its theology. The heavens were perfect, unchanging, a testament to God's creation, with humanity at its core. To question this celestial order was not merely a scientific disagreement, it was heresy. It was to question God's divine plan itself, his powerful, comforting, and utterly dominant view of the universe was the fortress Galileo was about to besiege. Before he ever turned his gaze to the heavens, Galileo was busy dismantling the accepted truths on Earth. The dominant voice in physics was Aristotle, whose ideas had gone unchallenged for centuries. Aristotle claimed heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones, a concept that seems intuitive, but Galileo wasn't content with intuition. He demanded proof. The legendary, though perhaps apocryphal, story of him dropping 2 different weights from the Leaning Tower of Pisa captures his spirit perfectly. He demonstrated that, air resistance aside, all objects fall at the same rate. This was a direct assault on Aristotelian physics. He meticulously studied the motion of pendulums, discovering that the time it takes to swing back and forth depends on its length, not the width of the swing. He rolled balls down inclined planes, precisely measuring time and distance. Unlike his predecessors, Galileo spoke the language of mathematics. He described the world not in philosophical terms, but with equations. This rigorous, experimental approach was revolutionary. It was the dawn of a new way of thinking, a method that would become the bedrock of all modern science. In 1609, a rumor reached Galileo from the Netherlands. A new invention, a spyglass, could make distant objects appear closer. While others saw a novelty or a military tool, Galileo saw the universe. He didn't just copy the design. He understood the optics and rapidly improved it, creating a telescope 30 times more powerful than the original. In the cold winter nights, he pointed his new instrument at the heavens, and what he saw would shatter the old world forever. He looked at the moon. The Church, following Aristotle, taught that celestial bodies were perfect, smooth spheres. Galileo saw mountains, valleys, and craters, just like the imperfect Earth. He turned his telescope to Jupiter and discovered 4 tiny points of light orbiting the giant planet. These were moons, celestial bodies not orbiting the Earth. This was a devastating blow to the geocentric model. He observed the phases of Venus, showing it went through a full set of phases, just like our moon, something that was impossible in Ptolemy's system but perfectly explained if Venus orbited the sun. He even observed dark blemishes on the surface of the sun itself, sunspots, proving the supposedly perfect heavens were not so perfect after all. The evidence was overwhelming. The old universe was crumbling. The Copernican model, which placed the sun at the center of the solar system, had been proposed over half a century earlier by Nicolaus Copernicus, but it was largely treated as a mathematical convenience, a strange hypothesis. With Galileo's telescopic evidence, it was suddenly a physical reality. His discoveries spread like wildfire across Europe, causing immense excitement and equally immense alarm. He began a vibrant correspondence with other forward-thinking astronomers, most notably Johannes Kepler in Germany, who who was developing his own laws of planetary motion. Emboldened by his findings and a growing number of supporters, Galileo decided to take his case to the public. In 1632, he published his masterwork, the dialogue concerning the two chief world systems. Written in Italian, not scholarly Latin, it was accessible to a wide audience. The book presents a conversation between three characters: one who supports Copernicus, one who supports Ptolemy and Aristotle, and an intelligent layman. The character defending the old system, named Simplicio, was portrayed as slow-witted and foolish, and the Pope Urban VIII believed the character was a caricature of himself. The book was a brilliant, compelling argument for the soon-centered universe. It was also a direct challenge to the authority of the Church. The gauntlet had been thrown down. The reaction was swift and severe. The dialogue was banned, and Galileo was summoned to Rome to stand trial before the Inquisition. In 1633, the aging and ailing scientist, now nearly 70 years old, faced his accusers. The trial was a foregone conclusion. The charges were not about scientific evidence, but about disobedience and heresy. He was shown the instruments of torture and faced an impossible choice: recant his views or face a horrific death. Broken and defeated, Galileo knelt before the cardinals and publicly renounced the Copernican theory. He was forced to declare that the Earth did not move. It was a moment of profound humiliation for science. But as legend has it, as he rose to his feet, Galileo muttered under his breath the immortal words, "Eppur si muove," and yet it moves. Whether he actually said it or not, the phrase perfectly captures the spirit of the moment. A man can be forced to lie, but the truth of the universe remains unchanged. Galileo was sentenced to house arrest for the remainder of his life. He spent his final years a prisoner in his own home, blind from years of staring at the sun. But even in confinement, his mind was free. He wrote another seminal book, Two New Sciences, which laid the foundation for modern physics and engineering. His punishment was a public spectacle, but it was a Pyrrhic victory for the Church. The seeds of revolution he had planted could not be unrooted. His books, though banned by the Inquisition, were smuggled out and published abroad, inspiring a new generation of scientists like Isaac Newton. The evidence he had gathered was undeniable. Slowly, inexorably, the scientific community, and eventually the world, came to accept the reality he had revealed. It took the Church more than 350 years to formally admit its error. Today, Galileo is revered not just for his discoveries, but for establishing the scientific method itself. The principle that knowledge must be based on experiment and observation, not authority. He taught us to trust what we see, to question what we are told, and to have the courage to follow the evidence, wherever it may lead. His legacy is in every satellite that orbits our planet, every spacecraft that explores the solar system, and in the very spirit of scientific inquiry that continues to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories about the rebels who changed our world.